What if everything you were told about love, relationships, and companionship after 50 was only half the truth? What if the peace you're searching for isn't found in another person, but in yourself? Think about it. You've spent decades surviving responsibilities, working hard, carrying weight that young men can't even imagine. You fought battles silently. You built a life. You sacrificed your time, your health, your dreams, maybe even your happiness for others. And now you stand at a point where life finally slows down. A moment where you can breathe. A moment where you can choose how your next years unfold. You're not the young man you once were. You're wiser, calmer, stronger. You value peace more than noise. Silence feels rich. Stillness feels powerful. And this stage of life is fragile, beautiful, and irreplaceable. You're not meant to spend it proving your worth or negotiating your happiness to keep someone else satisfied. You've already given enough. You've loved, you've lost, you've learned. Now you deserve something most men never claim: your freedom. You see, relationships can be beautiful, but they demand energy. They require compromise. They require emotional management. They require you to constantly give pieces of yourself. At 50 or 60, your energy is sacred. Your peace is valuable. Stress hits harder. Distractions cut deeper. Research shows that emotional stress increases cortisol, damages immunity, and reduces lifespan. So ask yourself honestly, do you want to spend the next chapter fighting emotional storms or sitting in calm mornings where your heart is still and your mind is light? Many men don't realize this. They chase companionship because society says being alone means being lonely. But there's a difference between being alone and being free. Freedom is waking up without pressure. It's choosing how you spend your day without explaining yourself. It's sitting with your own thoughts and feeling full, not empty. It's rediscovering the man beneath the responsibilities. The man you may have forgotten while taking care of everyone else. Staying single after 50 isn't about avoidance. It's about elevation. It's about building the life you once dreamed of but never had time for. It's about traveling, learning, growing, becoming stronger inside your own skin. It's about creating meaning instead of managing emotions, because now your happiness must come from within you, not from someone needing your time, attention, or compromise to feel secure. You deserve mornings without arguments. You deserve nights without anxiety. You deserve a life that moves at your pace, not one controlled by expectation or demand. And if you keep listening, you'll understand something powerful. This video isn't here to tell you to hate relationships. It's here to show you another path. A path of wisdom, clarity, and self-ownership. A path many men never take, but those who do rarely regret it. Stay with this message, because what you hear next may change the way you think about relationships at this age forever. It may give you courage to choose peace over pressure, freedom over approval, self-respect over emotional noise. You are stepping into the most important years of your life, and you deserve to live them on your terms. Because when a man crosses 50 or 60, something inside him shifts. He begins to understand the value of what he has left, not in a fearful way, but in a deeply conscious way. Time is no longer something to waste. Energy is no longer something to scatter. And money, the fruit of decades of effort, becomes something sacred. At this stage, financial peace is not luxury. It is survival, stability, dignity. You've spent years working, grinding, saving, providing. Every dollar you earned carried sweat, sacrifice, and patience. You know the cost behind it. You know what it took to get here. So ask yourself honestly, why should your hard-earned financial freedom be tied to emotional obligation now? Relationships, especially in later years, often come with expectations. Birthdays, dinners, holidays, shopping, trips. It adds up, not just money, but emotional responsibility. You start spending because you don't want to disappoint. You give more because you want peace. You pay for comfort, affection, harmony. Slowly, without noticing, your wallet becomes a bridge you maintain to keep another person happy. And sometimes you start to lose control over how your resources are used. You say yes when you want to say no. You spend to avoid conflict. You invest in moments that don't nourish your soul. You compromise even when it hurts your financial goals. At 50 or 60, that is a risk you cannot afford. Medical needs appear, retirement approaches. Life becomes unpredictable, and financial stress is the last thing you need. Studies show financial anxiety is one of the most damaging stresses for men in later adulthood, raising blood pressure, increasing heart risk, destroying sleep. Peace becomes more valuable than pleasure. Security becomes more comforting than romance. And the truth is, a girlfriend might not see money the way you do. She did not walk your path. She did not feel your burdens. She did not fight your battles. Your financial discipline was built through years of endurance, sacrifice, and maturity. Imagine keeping your income, your savings, your plans under your own control. Imagine choosing where your money goes, without negotiation, without guilt, without pressure to constantly give. You could invest in your health. You could travel where you want, when you want. You could buy what you like without explaining why. You could support your children or grandchildren with pride. You could build something lasting, a legacy, a business, a dream you always postponed. Your money could finally serve you, not the demands or expectations of someone else. A girlfriend might want attention, dates, vacations, celebrations, and that's not wrong, but it requires constant spending, constant compromise, constant sacrifice. At this age, financial freedom should feed your peace, not strain it. You earned this chapter. You deserve to enjoy it. You have one life left to live, and it should not revolve around pleasing someone else at the cost of your own security. Hold on to your resources. Protect your stability. Let your money bring you comfort, not conflict. You didn't work all these years to start worrying now. You didn't build a foundation just to have it shaken by emotional demands. A man who chooses financial freedom chooses dignity. A man who owns his decisions owns his future. Stay present, stay aware, and understand this truth deeply. You are allowed to put your needs first. You are allowed to keep your wealth for yourself. You are allowed to live the rest of your life without financial pressure created by someone else's expectations. Peace becomes priceless when you've lived long enough to know the weight of chaos. After decades of responsibilities, heartbreaks, expectations, and emotional storms, the soul craves something quieter. Not just silence, but emotional safety. A place inside you where nothing disturbs your mind, nothing shakes your heart, nothing demands you to bend or prove yourself. You learn through life that drama dry. NS energy faster than age. Arguments feel heavier. Misunderstandings feel exhausting. And emotional turbulence, even if small, hits differently after 50 or 60. You don't recover from stress the way you used to. You don't bounce back from conflict with the same fire. You value calmness over intensity, comfort over chaos, understanding over adrenaline. That is growth, that is maturity, that is wisdom earned through years of living. A relationship at this age often requires emotional labor, reassurance, compromise, patience, constant communication. It's not wrong, it's just heavy. You might find yourself explaining things that shouldn't need explanation, apologizing just to keep peace, trying to match emotional needs you no longer have energy for. Many men enter relationships hoping for comfort, but end up managing emotions, moods, insecurity, expectations, not out of malice, but out of human nature. People want attention, people want time, people want emotional presence. And if you cannot give it constantly, tension starts. You shouldn't be forced to choose between your mental peace and someone else's emotional demands at this stage of life. The greatest gift you can give yourself is a calm mind. Research in aging psychology shows emotional stability is directly linked to better health, longer life, and deeper happiness. Stress shortens lifespan. Anxiety weakens the heart. Constant emotional pressure drains physical energy. But peace, real peace, heals you. It lowers blood pressure. It sharpens clarity. It gives you space to breathe, reflect, grow. You become more present, more aware, more alive. Being single allows you to control your emotional environment. You decide who enters your life and who doesn't. You choose when to speak and when to stay silent. You can take time for yourself without guilt. You can spend evenings in reflection, meditation, nature, or pa. Sion projects without someone questioning your distance. You can disappear into peace without explaining why. That freedom is liberation, it's emotional sovereignty, and it's something many men never claim because they fear loneliness more than they love themselves. But loneliness and solitude are not the same. Loneliness is the absence of others. Solitude is the presence of yourself. Solitude is where you meet the man you truly are under your age, under your history, under your labels. It's where you hear your own voice again, where you reconnect with dreams you buried under obligations, where you feel emotions you ignored for years. A girlfriend may unintentionally interrupt that inner journey. She may fill silence with conversation, fill your space with needs, pull your attention outward instead of inward. But your soul now wants depth, not distraction. It wants peace, not performance. You deserve emotional quiet. You deserve a mind that rests. You deserve a heart that is no longer pulled in directions you no longer wish to travel. A calm life is not boring. It is powerful. It is healing. It is freedom you've earned through years of endurance. Let peace be your new love. Let your inner world become your sanctuary. And let nothing disturb the serenity you've built within yourself. And when peace settles in your life, you begin to notice something else. Time feels different. Not slow, not empty, but precious. You start to see the hours like gold, not sand slipping through fingers. You feel the sun differently. You value mornings more. You understand that every day is a gift you can't waste. Not for drama, not for conflict, not for emotional negotiation. You reach a point where you want your time to be yours. Not pulled, not demanded, not shared out of obligation, just yours. Because you've already lived decades where your time belonged to work, family, abilities, survival. Now it belongs to your spirit. You no longer chase excitement, you chase meaning. You no longer rush, you savor. You no longer spend time pleasing others, you spend time discovering yourself. But a girlfriend may need your presence, your focus, your hours. Calls, texts, visits, planning, explaining. Time gets shared, then divided, then drained. Not intentionally, but naturally. Relationships need time to survive. They need attention to breathe. But time is something you must protect fiercely now. You cannot get back a single moment lost. You cannot rewind a single day spent arguing or compromising. And you cannot afford to sacrifice the most valuable thing you have left. The life that still lies ahead of you. Imagine your days shaped by your desires alone. You wake when you want. You pursue hobbies without interruption. You read, walk, travel, explore, build something new. You can sit under the evening sky with no pressure to talk, no obligation to entertain. You can enjoy silence without someone calling it distance. That freedom is rare. It's powerful. It's sacred. Time becomes a canvas you paint, not a contract you maintain. After 50 or 60, every hour has more meaning than ever before. You feel life clearer. You understand how fast years pass. You know that regrets are born from wasted time, not from solitude. People regret the moments they gave away carelessly, not the moments they spent in peace. A girlfriend might ask for your weekends, your nights, your routines. She may want involvement in decisions that were once personal. She may want time you no longer wish to give. And you may give it even when you don't want to, simply to avoid conflict or guilt. But that is how life slips away, quietly through small obligations that steal your freedom one piece at a time. Your later years deserve intention. Every minute must nourish you, not exhaust you. Your time should move toward growth, not tension, toward joy, not compromise. Let yourself experience slow mornings without rush, long walks without discussion, quiet meals without negotiation, nights where you sit with your own thoughts and feel complete. You are not missing anything. You are returning to yourself. Time is not measured by clocks anymore. It is measured by peace of mind. It is measured by how gently you can breathe, how deeply you can think, how freely you can exist. You earned this peace through years of endurance. Do not trade it for a relationship that demands time you cannot replace. Protect your hours like treasure. Guard your days like gold. Because at this stage of life, time is not just passing, It is a privilege, and you deserve to live every second of it without compromise. And as time becomes precious, something deeper awakens, the need for purpose. A man without purpose feels empty, even if surrounded by company. But a man who wakes each morning with something meaningful to build, explore, or improve becomes alive again. Purpose is oxygen for the soul. It gives direction, meaning, challenge, growth. When you reach 50 or 60, purpose doesn't disappear, it evolves. It becomes more spiritual, more internal, more connected to legacy rather than achievement. You no longer chase status, you chase fulfillment. You no longer work to prove yourself, you work to express yourself. Yet purpose requires focus. It demands solitude, clarity, and uninterrupted thought. A girlfriend, without meaning to, might pull you away from that inner mission. She may want attention when you want reflection. She may want plans when you need space to create. She may feel neglected when you dive into what you love. But purpose cannot grow in divided energy. You cannot build something meaningful while managing emotional expectations constantly. Every interruption breaks momentum. Every compromise redirects energy. And slowly, a dream that could have flourished becomes another idea left behind. You've spent your life working for others, for family, for survival, for responsibility. Now you finally have the chance to work for yourself. This is the time to build something that outlives you, to write, to create, to mentor, to learn new skills, to grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, to explore passions you ignored when you were younger because life demanded speed, not depth. You have wisdom now, a treasure young men don't have. You have experience, perspective, resilience. These are tools for purpose, not for distraction. Being single allows full ownership of your mission. You wake up and dive into work that nourishes you. You take long stretches of quiet where ideas flow like water. You invest hours into your craft without feeling guilty for neglecting someone's emotional needs. You focus, you evolve, you discover new layers of yourself that were buried beneath decades of obligation. Purpose expands when the mind is free, and freedom is something relationships often test, especially in later years. A girlfriend may not understand the fire that burns inside you, the desire to create meaning instead of noise, to build legacy instead of routine. She may want comfort while you want growth. She may want predictability while you crave exploration. But a man who silences his purpose to maintain peace slowly fades inside. Motivation weakens, dreams shrink, life becomes maintenance instead of expansion. You deserve a life that excites you again. One where you wake up curious, where you chase knowledge, self-improvement, and personal evolution. One where you feel like life still has chapters left to write, not just chapters to endure. Purpose keeps the heart young, it keeps the mind sharp, it keeps the spirit alive. And when you protect your purpose, you protect your future. You are not finished. You are entering a stage where your greatest work may begin. A stage where depth matters more than desire. A stage where energy should feed your mission, not drain into emotional obligation. Let your purpose be your relationship. Let growth be your companion. Let your inner fire guide the rest of your life because you have more potential ahead than you think. And you deserve to shape it without distraction. And once purpose takes root inside you, something even greater begins to rise. Freedom. A kind of freedom you might not have fully tasted in your younger years. A freedom from expectations, from pressure, from the need to perform, impress, validate, or constantly explain yourself. There is a power in waking each day knowing your life belongs completely to you. No emotional demands, no obligation to entertain, no need to compromise your desires to keep someone else comfortable, just pure ownership over your time, your mind, your choices. After 50 or 60, that freedom becomes more than comfort, it becomes identity. You've spent decades carrying weight, you guided others, you sacrificed for family, you played roles you were expected to play, son, husband, father, provider. But now you can finally choose who you want to be without apology. You can travel without asking permission, sleep whenever you want, eat what you like, Sit in silence for hours without someone wondering if something is wrong. You can breathe deeply without rush or responsibility. That is the kind of life many men never get to experience, because they step back into relationships out of habit, comfort, or fear of being alone. But fear is not a reason to surrender freedom. Freedom should never be traded for companionship that comes with conditions. A girlfriend may bring warmth, affection, and presence, but she can also bring responsibility, expectations, emotional logistics, schedules that no longer fit the flow of your soul. You may find yourself adjusting, accommodating, always balancing between what you want and what she needs. And while compromise is part of love, it is also the quiet erosion of independence. One small sacrifice becomes two. One request becomes routine. Slowly you lose the freedom you once cherished. Not dramatically, but subtly. Silence replaced with conversation. Solitude replaced with obligation. Self-time replaced with shared time. You shrink to fit the shape of the relationship. But at this stage of life, shrinking is not an option. You've earned the right to expand, to think freely, to feel deeply, to live without emotional debt. You are not selfish for wanting independence. You are wise for valuing what little time remains. Every study on aging shows that autonomy, the ability to control your own life and decisions, is one of the strongest indicators of happiness in older men. When you choose freedom, you choose peace. When you choose peace, you choose health. And when you choose health, you extend not just life, but the quality of it. Imagine walking through your day without compromise, waking with clarity, knowing you answer only to yourself, filling your hours with purpose, joy, and calm. No emotional tension pulling you away, no guilt for choosing solitude, no pressure to sacrifice what feeds your spirit. That is freedom, real freedom. Not loud, not rebellious, but soft, powerful, steady, the kind of freedom that lets you grow in silence and blossom from within. You are entering a chapter where happiness is self-created, not partner-dependent, a chapter where your peace matters more than romance, where your inner world matters more than external validation. You have lived enough life to know this truth. Relationships can add joy, but they can also take away the very freedom that makes joy possible. Protect it, honor it, live boldly inside it. Because a man who chooses himself in his later years is not alone, he is free. Freedom becomes the new definition of happiness, because once you feel it deeply, there is no going back. You begin to understand that real joy isn't found in constant companionship, but in the ability to live by your own rhythm. Peace becomes your love language, silence becomes your comfort, solitude becomes your strength. You stop craving validation because you no longer need it. You stop searching for someone to complete you because you are already whole. You stop fearing being alone because you finally meet the version of yourself you were too busy to know before. And that version, calm, independent, self-directed, is powerful beyond words. Many men discover that being single in the later years of life doesn't mean lack, it means abundance. An abundance of peace, an abundance of clarity, an abundance of time to invest in passions, friendships, travel, fitness, learning, spiritual growth. You can wake up and decide to take a walk, to read for hours, to sit in nature, to work on a project that excites your heart. No permission, no negotiation, no emotional balancing act. You follow what feels true. That is happiness. Not chaos dressed as romance, not obligation disguised as love, but inner ownership that fills you with quiet satisfaction. Studies show older men who maintain independence often report higher levels of life satisfaction than those in relationships filled with friction or expectation. Not because love is bad, but because freedom, when earned, becomes oxygen to the aging soul. Less noise, more meaning, less compromise, more authenticity. You begin to see relationships differently, not as something you need to feel complete, but as something that requires energy you may no longer wish to give. You've given enough in your lifetime. Now it is time to receive peace in return. You no longer measure your worth through another person's affection. You no longer adjust your life to avoid someone's disappointment. You no longer shrink to keep someone else comfortable. That version of you no longer exists. You evolve into a man who chooses himself, not out of selfishness but out of wisdom. You have one life left to live. One final stretch. One last chapter to write. Why fill it with emotional duty when you can fill it with joy, clarity, and purpose? There is a beauty in waking up to a life you control fully. You make decisions without tension. You plan your days without compromise. You follow what brings you peace instead of what prevents conflict. You protect your health, your finances, your mind, and your spirit. And when you feel loneliness, you understand it is just a space waiting to be filled. Not by someone else, but by meaning, self-love, growth, new experiences, new passions. A girlfriend may bring love, but she may also bring expectations that limit your freedom. She may unknowingly pull you away from self-evolution. She may ask for time you need for healing or creation. And while companionship can be warm, it can also quietly steal the independence you fought decades to achieve. But when you remain single, you become the architect of your life. You build your days with intention. You move at your pace. You breathe without weight on your shoulders. This is what many men never realize until it's too late. That the final chapter of life is not meant for chasing validation but for embracing liberation. You owe yourself a life that feels light, peaceful, meaningful. A life where happiness is not negotiated but chosen. You deserve to live as a man who finally puts himself first.